Have you ever felt like no matter how much you try, your partner tends to seem unsatisfied? Have you ever felt like you've just been doing all that you can, but have never been able to quite please and satisfy your partner? In this video, I am going to show you some of the reasons why I believe that you're not able to satisfy your partner. And before we jump in, I want to invite my friends on, y'all know it, on Instagram. So let's go live on Instagram. And guys, today we're going to have an amazing session because most people tend to feel like, and I felt like this, I remember for many years, I felt like there were so many different aspects of things that I was trying in my relationship that made me still feel like, man, I've tried this, I've tried that, but I couldn't quite feel like I was satisfying my wife. And not satisfying in a, there just always seemed like there was more that I could do. And so I remember one time we went to a conference. It was a conference on relationships, and we got the missing piece. Matter of fact, it was actually several pieces. And that's the thing that I'm going to share with you guys here, because they shared what they crafted to call their pie, their relationship pie. And I want to know if you know that you actually have a relationship pie. You do. And so I believe many people get into relationships and just think that it's just one person, one thing. And so they try to please their partner one way instead of understanding the different aspects of the relationship. And so today we're going to be jumping into understanding what are some of the different segments of your relationship pie. And to be able to do that effectively, we're going to go to the board today. We're going to go on my whiteboard so that you could see how this relationship pie works for you. So let's jump in and go to the whiteboard so that you can see this relationship pie. And so everyone's relationship has a pie. Whoa, that's the highlighter. We don't want that. Let's go here. So everyone in a relationship has a pie. And so the pie looks like that, right? And now there are different segments to this pie. And so what are the different segments? Let's break it up in a few. Let's get one more. And this would be like your pizza, right? Like you just went to a pizza shop, and the overarching entire pie, this is your circle. This is your relationship. So let's put under that, on top of it, relationships. So this is your relationship. Now, what are the different aspects of your relationship? Well, one of the first aspects of relationship that most people tend to stick with and only serve is the lover segment of the relationship. So let's put that lover. Now, this is the most common piece of the pie for most people, where they only attend to this. And so, and you got to think about it from when we started dating, right? So the first part is when we started dating. And so it's this romantic type of relationship, is trying to get and win this person. And so we tend to always only talk about the dates that we want to have and sex and how it makes me feel. And so we live and we remain in this one segment for a whole lot of time in our relationship without understanding that there are other aspects to the relationship that this person wants to be filled up in. And so let's go back to the board. This is the part that most people know about. So what are some of the other aspects of a relationship pie that you may or may not understand? I want to do the more common ones first. And so you also have friend. Now, let's think about a friend. You could be a lover in a relationship, but what does it really mean to be a friend? And I know people say, oh, yeah, my spouse and I, we're friends, and yeah, okay, calm down. The question is, do you have the same type of relationship with one of your friends as you do with your partner? Is it the same type of vibe? Like, are you able to call this person and just have a conversation, or be like, yo, I seen this dress, or I seen this shoe, or I seen this thing, or like, are you able to have those types of random conversations that you would have with a typical friend? Now, some people may say, oh, well, maybe some aspects, right? And this is a part of the relationship that I believe comes over time with trust. Now, I know we believe that this is something that we should have from day one. My argument here is that your friendship, this isn't even a part of the lovers aspect. This is more a part of your friend aspect. Your friendship isn't really tested until there's real trial, right? Until there's real trial in your relationship. Because is that the lover aspect that's helping and being there to care for someone? To a degree, but I believe this falls more in the friend and caring aspect, just to make sure that this person is taken care of. And a lot of time when you're tested in your relationship, here's where this friend aspect, could you be there to listen and hear as a friend and show up? And I believe that this is one of the segments that a lot of people do not attend to in their relationship. And so let's move on to another segment. Next, you have, this one is really interesting. Next, you have roommates. We are roommates. You are roommates with your partner. Now think about, I didn't go to college and have a dorm and had roommates. So when I got married, that was the first roommate I had. And that started from my first marriage, right? And so think about some of the struggles that you start experiencing when you become roommates. I know my wife and I, Jazz, we had a tough time when we first got married. And the reason why was because I liked things a certain way. And so the way that I like things, I wanted it to stay that way. Versus when you become roommates, there's a kind of ebb and flow, and like just kind of setting boundaries and understanding for how the relationship and how things would work. And this is something that I believe causes a lot of contention in a marriage, in a relationship. And if it is that you don't learn how to be roommates with each other, and roommates doesn't only mean the bedroom, I'm talking about even the kitchen. Like how does things navigate at home, right? Like how are you able to navigate your living situation? Who's washing the dishes? Who's doing the laundry? Like Jazz and I, we're on pretty much automatic mode when it comes to a lot of things in this roommate category. We just had a baby, 4 months, and so we've been constantly and consistently revising some of these things just to make sure, like, hey, is this still something that you want to do? Do you need help here? Like, how can I help you? And so these are all things that is absolutely 100% necessary and requires a conversation. Here's the question. How many people actually have a conversation about those things, those roles and responsibilities in the home? Because it's with roles and responsibilities that you're able to have a clear and concise conversation where you're not thinking about something and it's not bothering you because you've communicated that thing. Where there's no communication, the intimacy falls and your ability to get things done all falls. And so here is roommates, right? I got so much to talk about on roommates, but I'm gonna keep it going, right? Another thing, and this may or may not apply to some of you guys, but another aspect of the pie is you guys as parents. How does the conversation flow as parents? Now, when my wife and I, when we got married, I had a son. He was 8 at the time, I believe. He was 8 at the time, and she's around, and so she is his bonus son. And so we had to talk about what that would look like, right? With her being his bonus son, and how she would discipline him, and she doesn't have to be his mom, but being a bonus mom, what does that look like? And so we didn't just leave it to chance that she was just going to understand what that role and responsibility was. And we talked about it in different ways and aspects, but we made sure we had a full conversation about what that would look like. And man, there were ups and there were downs. There were ups and there were downs. That was just the nature of being able to navigate us being parents. And so now that we have a 4-month-old together, we have met, even before our daughter was born, we've met to talk about what would raising this child look like. And so we would have what we call baby nights. And we wanted to know, hey, what are some of the philosophies and principles that you would like to have to be able to impart on our daughter, and likewise, vice versa. Being able to have these conversations had us be able to jump in and not be at each other's throats. Now, are there things that came up that made us want to be able to revisit or revamp the conversation? 100%. I believe parenting is a living organism where you have your philosophies and ideals, but the more you learn, the more some of those things may need to be navigated. So that's parenting, right? Another aspect, and we're down to 2 more, is we are all, write it down, we're all co-workers. We're co-workers. Now, how are we co-workers in a relationship? Navigating the money and how we work when we're out there working is so important. This is absolutely necessary to understand. And it does not matter if you don't have a business or run a business with your partner. You guys are still co-workers because you're co-working to make your operation, your home, work together. And this is an aspect that I believe most people don't talk about, because just understanding how to navigate the home with the funds and who's paying these bills and who's doing all of these different aspects is such an important part of a relationship. How could this not be talked about? And most people do not have this conversation, even in getting into a relationship and being married for a long time. You'd be surprised. I talk to so many people who've been married for such a long time, and they've never, ever, 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 ever discussed what being co-workers and how we navigate life and money and all those things together in the home. It's typically yeah, I'm gonna deal with that. I'm gonna deal with this. And that's it. That's the only conversation most people have. And so how do you coexist as co-workers? Next, and the last aspect, and this is not for everyone, but it applies for my home, is Business partners. Business partners. Now, I think that this is probably one of the most important on this board. I think they're all important. Let me take that back. But this is super important because most people in a relationship, in a marriage, would like to become and be business partners, but don't have the humility or the patience to be able to figure out the things to navigate being business partners. And so there's a level of humbleness that needs to happen to be able to have this level of partnership, but then having the continuous conversations. Because if you think about what a business partner really is and how you're able to separate between having a conversation about our relationship and also having a conversation about our business, like navigating that is really tough, right? Because you could be going through an emotional thing at work, and because of the emotions that you have for work, you step into the business and it's the wrong time. So when do you have your business hat on? When do you have your relationship hat on? Sometimes you got to ask, hey, do you need me as your business partner, or do you need me as your lover? Right? Like, that's one of the clarifying questions that when you work together that you need to start asking. And it's so helpful to understand because there could be a lot of tension. And guys, like, this is something that we are constantly navigating, constantly and consistently navigating. And so this is one of the things that we have a coach that helps us navigate this. And this is something that I also coach others in helping them navigate their business and personal life. And so here's why I said the introduction that I said, where most people, they tend to believe like, hey, no matter what I do, you seem to be unhappy, is because they're typically trying to appeal to one or a few of the pie. And so most people tend to go for this section of the pie, right? Like, I want sex, I want to be able to be with my partner, all that type of stuff. And so they cover one section of the pie. Some people may do this halfway, and so then they also do parenting, right? But it's not like they co-parent beautifully. They just exist together and they make it happen. And so there are a lot of contention and there's a lot of tension when it comes to co-parenting, because someone may want a little bit more help as a parent. But if they're not able to have those conversations, then there's going to be resentment. And so a lot of resentment happens. And so this cup, this slice isn't 100% filled, but let's fill it in, right? Now, we talked about roommates. How does things flow in the home? Now, I do believe that after some time, you kind of learn a way to coexist. Like, oh yeah, you do that, I do this. And it came from arguments versus really breaking it up and having a conversation about it. So let's even do that, right? Let's even do this. But again, a lot of those things came from arguments versus a conversation. Now, here's the next piece. When it comes to friendship, when it comes to friends, I believe that if it is that you couldn't tell me, hey, if I asked you, what would your partner want to do if given the chance for the rest of their life, or something that they would want to pursue, and you're not able to tell me that, then I'm going to put a question mark by friendship. Right? Because these are questions and things that you may or may not know about your friends. You would have enough conversation with a friend to know and understand some of the things that they love, the things they desire, they hope for, all of those things. And so if it is that you don't understand or have some kind of inclination about what that is, then there's a question mark by friendship. Now, let's talk about being coworkers. Like, how do you guys do the like work together even at home? Like, I'll put a question mark by that too, because you end up figuring out how to do things, but do you really work together? And business partners, is it really just you commanding that person, or do you guys have a decent relationship when it comes to navigating your business partnership? Now, if it is that the question mark is a question mark, or even some of the other segments might be a question mark for you, then that may be one of the reasons where you're unable to fulfill your relationship, where you feel like you're trying because you continue to try in a segment that you're already good in. And it's not that they're not grateful, they may be grateful, but there are all of these other parts of your relationship that exist, but you're not giving the attention. And so the key here is to know and understand all of these different segments and areas of your relationship and give each one of them equal attention. Now, does each one require a whole bunch of attention? Probably not. But acting like they don't exist is going to get you in a lot more trouble, because there's no connection on those things. And sometimes your partner may not even know how to express what's going on and what they desire, but I'm willing to guarantee that it's one of these segments that's typically unfulfilled. And so I wanted to break that down and going through the relationship pie so that you guys go examine your relationship and see for yourself if your segments of your relationship pie is being taken care of. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you guys got incredible value from what was shared today. I'll catch you guys tomorrow with a special guest. Peace and love. Until next time, catch you guys later. Peace.